Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Mohd Redzuan Yusof, Minister Entrepreneur. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Kamaru, representative from KSI, distinguished guests, speakers, and audience, good afternoons. I bid you a warm welcome to the National Conference on Industry 4.0. What does the future look like? How business and SME can benefit from this Industry 4.0, which is jointly organized by the KSI, Kingsley Strategy Institute, and SME Malaysia. We thank you for being here with us and put together our effort towards the Industry 4.0. I wish to acknowledge the presence of the Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Mohd Redzuan Yusof, Minister Entrepreneur of Malaysia. Is also our ministries. Now our minister is in charge of SME. I think Malaysia 98.5% of SME, all the business under our ministers. So I think in the futures, our SME growth, especially our ministers are looking at by 2020. This morning you have heard the CEO from SME Corp have mentioned, the target, we move forward from 2026, 41% of GDP growth, move to 2020. This is our minister visions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently made of technological transformations that will fundamentally change the way we live and work. The transformation called the Industry 4.0 is unlike anything we have seen before in view of the place and the brief of the change brought by it. Industry 4.0 transform our productions, business operations, supplies, change management, marketing, logistics, in fact, every aspect of our business. Industry 4.0 changed the business landscape of competitions at global levels. Countries and firms that lead in embarking Industry 4.0 technologies and processes will gain competitive advantage. The competitiveness of firms high on the abilities to transform by responding to market shift and technology trend. As SME plays a key role in the development of Malaysia economy, this is extremely important for the government to take the lead in the creation of more global SME through target assistance in automation, digitization, and robotization. Ladies and gentlemen, as you may be aware, the main barrier for SME faced in adopting Industry 4.0 are lack of funds, talents, and knowledge encouraging implementations, or those companies are generally aware that they need to automate to deal with raising labor costs. Many of the smallest ones may be less incentivized to do so because machines are expensive and they are lack of economy of skill to make the investment financial viable. This is what I have always said. SME are not able to move into the Industry 4.0 as even if SME embark into the Industry 4.0, I think they will be dinosaur for the SME. I think SME, we should look into the digitalization and mechanization with their operation. This is what suit for the SME. It's very important, which is not the case of all the SME. This could be this could be misconceptions of SME due to their lack of understanding about the automation technologies and the high cost of equipment. Many SME thought that they have to automate their entire production and that can be costly. Actually, SME should first identify specific process in their productions that can be improved through automation. Any improvement will increase productivity and efficiency. That is very important for the SME. The SME should utilize the support provided by the government in embarking on Industry 4.0. The government has allocated, last year, I think announced the budget, this year started for next 3 years, 210 million for the National Industry 4.0 and Readiness Assessment Programs has already embarked. I think so SME should take this advantage to go online and assess yourself. We are ready for the programs facilitated by the MITI. We encourage SME to participate actively in the Readiness Assessment Program, as it is useful to determine the state of preparedness of your company for Industry 4.0. What is needed to do to fill the present gap? I think this morning, I think our panels have been mentioned very clear. We should not, all the SMEs should not, everyone focus and move into the Industry 4.0. They should go and assess themselves which state they are in, how to improve their especially competitiveness and readiness. The government, through MIDA, have put in place some measurement to help SME in acquiring machine for automation. One incentive is the Automation Capital Allowance, ACAA, which was announced in 2015. Depending on the category, company can claim up to 200% allowance for fixed amounts of qualifying capital expenditures. The claims period is from 2015 to 2020. I think this is very good if you can. SME can look into it for claim this capital allowance which is 200%. Apart from that, MIDA's Domestic Investment Strategy Fund in the form of matching grant can be used for modernizations, for facility and equipment. SME in the manufacturing skill, in the manufacturing sectors are eligible for the soft financing scheme for automation and modernization, which is provided up to 20 millions per each application. There is also double tax deduction for expenses related to National Duke Training Skill Scheme for Industry 4.0 provided by the MIDA to train or upskill SME workforce in Industry 4.0 activity. Ladies and gentlemen, many facility and policy and programs are made available by the government for developments of SME. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. So that choice lies in our entrepreneur. Hence, to reach out to the transformation. I always say that I think government is providing a lot of facility to us. Now, depend on our SME. We SME should take approach to move forward ourselves. I think the new government, when in place, I always tell the SME, the new governments give us a very good directions when they tell us in the futures, all business, our economy, country economy, will lead by the private sectors. The whole country, I think SME should focus how to move forward to create our country economy to make the next giants of the ASEAN. I think it's very important. We hope that the SME should take advantage of what the government have put forward and on all the policy, especially when talk about Industry 4.0. This is time for the SME to move on the digitizations and ready to move forward and train your staff ready to accept, to move more competitive. Thank you. I wish you have a successful learning and transformative journey on Industry 4.0. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Good day everyone, good afternoon. Yang berbahagia Datuk Kamarul Arif Osman, Director Kingsley Strategic Institute, Yang berbahagia Datuk Michael Kang, President SME Association Malaysia, members of media if they are here, or any of them here, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and participants, and I hope you have started well. Have you started this morning? I didn't know what you were talking about then this morning, or you were discussing, but all I got to say is I'd like to hear later on feedback from you guys, what you think about how we have helped or how we have facilitated to move the IR 4.0. And I'll start it off by saying thank you for moving or for inviting me to address the conference organized by KSI and SME Association. I think this is the second interaction that I have with KSI. The last one was, what was it? I can't remember. The event I remember. But I must say, I'm glad to be here again to deliver a keynote address in the discussion on I 4.0 in the presence of eminent industry captains, I presume policymakers, academicians, who will be played a decisive role as we move forward, shaping the future of Malaysia's industry and economy. I was introduced to someone from German, but Koreans. I was introduced to Koreans, and I don't know who else are Singaporeans are here, but I think they want to measure how well we have done ourselves in our progress toward adopting IR 4.0. But I was in Japan recently. They were talking about 5.0. I don't know what it means, but I was wondering, 5.0 means the improvement from 4.0. But they did say that as they are heading toward the Expo 2025, the World Expo 2025. At that time, they were talking about artificial intelligence. They will showcase artificial intelligence 2025. And that's it came about when we talk about this flying cars. Much talk about. Critics alike, constructive many of them, encouragement many of them. But the idea is to stimulate the industry. What have we to prepare to receive this unprecedented advancement in technology, where human and robots perhaps have to communicate, have to drive many things, from what you do at home to what you produce, to even today, I must say, there are people coming to see me, bringing this application, put it on your head, and they run through with you, not the lie detector kind of thing. They can shape up the stress and strain in your system for that particular day, and tells the Prime Minister, for example, whether I'm fit to be the Minister of Entrepreneurial Development. But serious. Whether you can handle the stress, whether you can handle this, and then they can profile you and punch in the scope of work, say for specific ministry, then says, yes, you're qualified to be the Minister of Finance, for example. Michael is laughing, I don't know why he's laughing. But, it all depends on how you see things, how you want to adopt it. And today you're talking about management of data, the basic of many things that you want to do. You talk about mining those data to apply as much as possible in the work that you want to accomplish. And I think it is relevant today that you guys are debating or discussing among yourselves and try to bring the best out of us and see you can help the government to make the changes that I've been talking about and moving forward using the IR 4.0. Based on the recent survey, but done by a few international research companies as one of the most significant risk trends for the year 2019 is what we call the speed of technological change. In 2018, almost 38% of global CEOs and entrepreneurs considered speed of technological change as one of the risk factors that required attention. In the year 2018, we heard about blockchain boom. We have yet to pick up blockchain in this country other than using it for cryptocurrencies and so on. We have yet to use it, for example, in the government, how we manage ourselves, like paperless government. Blockchain is probably ideal to do it because of being secured, full autonomy, and safe, and nobody can actually get to the data that you have put in the blockchain. That's how, unless I get it wrong. If I was wrong, then no wonder in cabinet I was trying to tell the cabinet, look, we have to look at paperless, we have to use blockchain technology. Some of them just maybe glare at me and say, let's change yourself, what were you talking about? So it's a process for education that we have to go through. Not many people can receive things constructively. They put cold water in what you want to do, but it's a challenge that we have to overcome in order to get the people to subscribe. The power of technology, the need to adopt technology for us to be in the advanced category of development. So in the year 2018 also, we heard about other things, the increase in low-code and no-code application development, the start of the rollout of 5G technology even, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and we will eventually hear more innovation in 2019, and especially from you guys. And I'm sure you have a lot of things to share with the government, business, SMEs, entrepreneurs, and even any country and government for that matter need to recalibrate our economic agenda and planning accordingly. In a somewhat comprehensive analysis completed by the World Economic Forum entitled Readiness for the Future of Production Report 2018, our country, Malaysia, has been regarded as one of 25 leading countries in terms of readiness to move forward with the current economic parameters and climate, ranked number 25. I don't know what our friends in Korea, where they are. They could be number 10 or number 15. I've not done my homework to check whether I didn't know whether the Germans are here or we're here or the Koreans are here. But I'm sure you know where you are. In analyzing the future production capabilities, the World Economic Forum looking rather deeply into two key frameworks: structure of production, measuring economic complexity and scale of economy, drivers of production, looking into various factors, i.e. technology and innovation, human capital, institutional framework, and demand environment. And I must say, something that's missing here is a question specific to Malaysia. Are we ready to adopt IR 4.0? Yes, we may be able to develop human capital, but we are discussing this. And I brought this issue up in terms of infrastructure development. You can talk about try to train, but then you look at the population, not only in the urban, you're looking at the population, the what we call it, in the rural area. We don't want them to migrate to the urban. We want to stay where they are. They must be able, or they must be given access to 4.0, if you want to call it. It's a question whether the infrastructure is ready for it. This is what the little thing that the government can do to help the entire nation to subscribe to 4.0 in terms of getting the infrastructure development, so-called get up to the level where everyone can adopt 4.0, everyone can have access to internet at the speed that we can realize. There's no point talking about productivity using 4.0 if the infrastructure is not there. So we realize those so-called situation, and wherever we can do, we try to help. For example, using new material to increase speed, the data transportation, the highway, the bandwidth, we are looking at those. And I must say I'm very fortunate because we know all this. I've been mandated to be one of the 5 permanent members of the National Development Council. We realize all these are required for us to jointly move the economy, especially when you talk about SME, is basically the prime mover for any developed economies, as you see in the past. So we cannot lose sight the fact that we have to work together with SME community for us to prosper. In my personal note, I consider the report of this WEF is a good indication for Malaysia it is indeed a vote of confidence that we are heading in the right track as far as Industry 4.0, including those that I said that complement to their reports. So if we are 25, hopefully we can rank, you say 24 lower, okay, rank higher in the hierarchy, that means you're top. So we will rank higher towards achieving to be one of the top 10 perhaps, when we get all the enablers, like the infrastructure, the enablers, we get to the level where we can rank as one of those top 10 nation in terms of adopting or using IO 5.0. Again, this I just said, and it's written in here, we cannot ignore that fact. And I'm very much convinced with the unwavering undertaking of Budget 2019, as Datuk Michael was saying, with the pledge of Industry Forward and complete blueprint of Industry 4.0, Malaysia will rank better in the World Economic Forum report next year. Ladies and gentlemen, in the recent decades, the manufacturing sector has seen rapid evolution from mass production through intensive labor force working in production lines to the use of robotics to increase efficiency to more and more infusion of automation, digitalization, and artificial intelligence. Now, something that we discussed in the dialogue that I have with the Oxford Business School about maybe 2 months ago. And there must be a balance. When you look at Malaysia specifically, we are in a situation whereby there are a lot of unemployment. I'm not saying it's very bad, manageable. And you've got the low-skilled workers coming into the country. We have about 2.5 million foreign workers in the country. By the way, I am in the Permanent Council of try to manage the foreign workers. We have this special committee under the cabinet. So we know we have all this data. Question how we use this data to benefit the country in terms of utilizing local workforce. Then we talk about the balance when you talk about digitalization in the economy. When you talk about artificial intelligence, how many of you here have gone to McDonald's in Bangsa? How do you compare 5 years ago against today? You can't remember, right? You go to Bangsa McDonald's 5 years ago, you see a lot of people there serving you, right? Today you go to the kiosk, you only a few people that serve you. You order through the kiosk. That's using Internet of Things, adopting ICT. So you lose employment. You have automation to increase productivity. You lose employment. So what do we do? It's something SME need to think about. But in fact, this is not trying to put cold water on the reality of it. In recent reports by the world, I can't remember, I was engaged with the economists from New York in a recent Global Bank summit. And they said this, by adopting IR 4.0, by moving into digitalization of economy, people fear there will be a loss of employment by 50%. But in actual fact, when you adopt IR 4.0, you are creating 75% more employment. How do we get that 75%? It's all about educating people. When we talk about human capital development, they must be focused toward teaching them in using technology, in using or adopting artificial intelligence, in looking at robotics. And there's so much today, if you compare again conventional practice of doing things, labor intensive. But when you start looking at artificial intelligence, when you're looking about Internet of Things, when you look at using ICT, and you have a population that is educated and bring creativity into them, and you can see the opportunity for employment will increase. And this is reported by the Forum in Authority. And we must be prepared for that. We must be prepared in the program called Train the Trainers. We cannot run away from the fact that we've got to get into that situation. SME must be, you must train the trainers in area of ICT. You can give feedback to us. What do we need? What do you need for the government? For example, we talk about incentive. We're talking about capital allowance. We're talking about like MSc incentive that we have. We are trying to expand that. Yeah, we can expand that corridor also. Perhaps we are talking about satellite MSc. Maybe one based in Malacca, maybe based up north, even in Kota Baru. To give incentive to people to start looking, the SMEs to start looking there, rather than going out, try to crowd other areas like in the case of Kuala Lumpur. When you have a well-spread facility like that, then I think across the board you can create more employment, and this human capital that you have developed will attain a level of credential, or rather competitiveness in the world market. People will come to Kota Baru. When you talk about online, offline, people will come to Kota Baru. It's not about just e-commerce, for example. They want to know how do you do things. That will attract a lot more exchange of ideas, exchange of information, exchange of butters, on butter trading and so on. I don't know what I'm blabbering too much. I'm getting away from what I thought I want to speak. But today, the next phase of evolution in the information sector is referred to Industry 4.0 as we know it. IT has now become the new imperative for a business to grow and improve their performances. Global manufacturing processes are being transformed dramatically with the advent of information technologies. Moreover, business models in manufacturing now benefit from data, from machines and systems which have now become interconnected throughout the value chain from production shop floor to final distribution. I'll give you an example today. One of the things that we are promoting, probably you read the newspaper, and I must say I want to be the champion of this. Because we talk about growing the economy to, or rather contribution by SME to 41%. That's disrupting the trend of growth in this country. If you extrapolate the curve for what has been achieved in the past, based on the resources that we have, based on the policy that we have put together, the 41% that Michael is actually can be achieved in 2023. Okay? The curve, it says there. But we want to disrupt, to have a sharp increase in productivity, or sharp increase in the growth to 41% 2020. So we are very focused, very targeted in what we want to do. At least what I want to do. So we engage ourselves with economists from, say, from United Nations, asking them what are the high growth sector that we were looking at. Topmost in the context of Malaysian capability, topmost in terms of what people see as Malaysia, I put priority on the halal industry, for example. No strange, in Penang, 90% of the halal food is produced by non-Muslim. In Penang, 450,000 tons of gelatin produced in the world for halal is produced by non-Muslim. But of course, they are non-halal. Only 8% is halal. Right? We just imagine, I just take 10% of the 450,000. How much money you can make? Activities, if you draw a road map, you follow a road map, every step of it are SMEs. Every step of it are money-making stops, like the bus stops, So we're going to start a journey. So I'll start with the halal market for the world. IR 4.0 can be used. I have this data from World Bank, $2.3 trillion of halal food market in the world, excluding pharmaceutical product and beauty products. Malaysian GDP, how much is that? 1.3 trillion ringgit. If I can tap 5%, 10%, the impact that it will do to the GDP of this country, we can do it. Malaysia boleh. That's why I said 41% is not impossible to achieve. But me and us as government now is trying hard to create the supply chain, to create the ecosystem, to provide incentive, as Dr. Michael was saying, in order for you to move at speed with us, in order for me to move at speed with you. If you're too fast, I'll catch you up. If I'm too fast, you have to catch me up. With those competition that we are creating now, and I think the 41% will be not impossible to achieve. And that disrupting the graph that I was talking about as far as Malaysia is concerned. So there's so many things. You look at the supply chain in the halal market, you're talking about ingredients, you're talking about trade, you're talking about e-commerce, the complete halal chain. For example, I must tell you today, the Japanese counterpart, following the successful showcase, the Malaysia Halal 2019, if you notice the keynote address by the Japanese ambassador, they no longer talk about trade barriers, right? Or they no longer talk about let's just sign agreement to have a framework of how we're going to collaborate. He only said this, unprecedented. Every one of you is welcome to do anything in Japan. It's never been said before, if you notice that speak. So the world is for you. Specific to halal, they are creating. They want to know the processes. They want to know the online, offline. I even met with the governor of Chiba Prefecture. They call me Pak Wan too. Not sound Japanese, but better rather than Redzuan. Said, Pak Wan, I said, I will create a warehouse for you in Chiba Prefecture. Okay? If you want to do offline, you want to do online, you just imagine I have 2 points, collection and distribution center. And it's a complete chain, I said, exclusively, I want to know, for the halal supply chain. So A, B, C, D, and F. Every stops that you see, that you can participate. You can participate any way you want, but you must adopt IR 4.0. Think about it. So it's just a challenge for you guys to help me to achieve the 41%. And I must say today, the little that we have gone so far, of course I cannot disclose this in a formal manner. It's just for the purpose of discussion. But I can be scrutinized for saying so. I don't mind. In fact, we have our own measurement of where we are today. And it's very encouraging to find out that we have difficulties and we took over the government. Rome was not built overnight, as you know it. Things was about to be destroyed, or some has been destroyed. We have to rebuild. And the challenges have been there and will always be there. But I must report to you, the indication is SMB growth now has reached from 37 to 38%. That's 9 months. Close to 30%. That's just about with the disadvantage that we are having. We don't disseminate information too quickly, too timely, no clarity in our policy as yet. There's still some confusion and yet we are progressing. To me, I must say that we have done okay. But if you guys interact more with us, and I'm sure you can help propel to the level that I just said and help me to fulfill the so-called benchmark that I established for at least 41% contribution by you guys in the GDP. Business models in manufacturing now benefit from data. Yeah? We start to have to move through SIB Corp. Yeah? We're going to have this big data, and we try to share out with a lot of people. Our ministry is the coordinating ministry for all entrepreneurship development. we still try to connect ourselves among ministry. The very reason why this ministry was created, MED. I mean, there was one time when people said that I'm going over the boundaries, trying to so-called encroach into investment and trade, Ministry of Industry and Industry, right? But there always been overlapping function. But I'm focused toward bringing SME up because MSME is under MED, under Ministry of Entrepreneurial Development, not under Ministry of Trade. Ministry of Trade, I take it, is the regulating agency. They got MIDA, they got MDF, they can help you out in many ways, and issue your license and so on to operate. So this ministry will connect with the various ministry. Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Agriculture, Primary Industry, Energy, Technology and so on, whatever ministry, Ministry of Health. And I must say, through the NEF that we have developed and presented last week to the Prime Minister, we got approval that we can now move entrepreneurship development, which significantly, in fact, 90% contributing to SME. Then we can do in a more, what we call it, holistic, with the various ministry rather than working in silos. So no longer, when I said we want to do agriculture using technology, we work hand in hand with the agricultural ministry. For example, we reach out to entrepreneurs, we adopt them, and we get agricultural ministry to facilitate in terms of trying to understand what are the rules and regulations that they are imposing from that ministry to develop the entrepreneur that is adopted by us. So you notice in our program for the last 8 months, we have this road, reach out and adopt. We are more, as I said, we are more focused, we are more targeted, we look at outcome. And when you talk about just now human capital, we also, just to digress a little bit, we have this protege, the professional, let's get protege, I can't remember. I coined that words to replace SLIM, to be more encompassing in terms of human capital development, try to mold people from colleges and universities, school levels alike, and so that they are better molded under protege to become, to be more streamed towards entrepreneurship rather than to seek for employment. Because employment will become secondary if I create more entrepreneurs. In our NEF, we said that we want to create, in fact, it was under not my manifesto, the government manifesto. I have my own views about manifesto, but we also work on consensus. Like we want to create 50,000 entrepreneurs a year. And I must also report to you, we are reaching a year. From our ministry alone, our ministry, not including other ministries, we have on our books and the data that we have created about 24,000 entrepreneurs. And I think I'm not far off. If I take from agriculture, we go in the process of trying to streamline, or rather try to consolidate jointly our effort to have a common data, to have a common direction how to develop entrepreneurs using funds, for example, various ministry. And I think you have heard in budget 2019, we have about 4.5 billion made available for SMEs. And must say again, since we talked about halal earlier, it's about 1 billion for halal. We subsidize, I think 2% subsidize cost of funding to those people who wants to adopt. And I think they are also subsidy when you start to adopt ICT. And we can look at that. And those that are involved in IR 4.0, especially on ICT and artificial intelligence and so on, will have similar, if not better, incentives. Manufacturing firms, you know, can no longer reap the same yields as the previous decades if they continue to rely on capital and labor as productivity levers. You talk about today, I have a lot of cries about the foreign workers coming. Without them, the factory shut down. Okay. Recently, we have relaxed a little bit on the requirement for those that are gone. There's so-called renewal program. We have decided recently in the Development Council meeting, and I think it'll be announced that we are relaxing the requirement because whether it's true or not, the data that we receive, the retail, the manufacturing sector are suffering because of lack of foreign workers. We should say that we are at fault. Why? Because I have not seen, other than myself, other than trying to promote training, not seen the local institutions do this human capital development, which is very key in this thing when we talk about IR 4.0. If you're not prepared with the human capital, okay, today you can see the construction industry is manned by foreign workers, the retail and wholesale outlet are manned by foreign workers, F&B is 50-50 kind of stuff, plantation is foreign workers. So if you don't train as we head to a 4.0, then you have 2.3 million again workers that will be involved in Malaysia in artificial intelligence, in automations and stuff like that. So the country, the human resource need to be trained. And the key task that I have to do in this ministry, as always reminded by the Prime Minister, to me personally, is it, part one, we need to train people here. We need to instill entrepreneurship culture in themselves. What are they? Discipline. What are they? Resilience. What are they? Knowledge. What are they? Soft skill. And we are good at that. I must say Malaysians are good at that. Ranked number 1 in the world. You guys must know today, bound for New York Stock Exchange. It's a Malaysian that operates in 20 countries around the world in artificial intelligence. Above top 2 companies in the USA. The fourth was Japan. Top Malaysian, bound for listing in Stock Exchange of New York. Artificial intelligence in air mobility. That's why I'm confident to talk about flying cars. Because I've got these enablers to move this. Right? So, we are good. We can do it. It's just that we must train people around us. An entrepreneur must create other entrepreneurs. Look left, look right. What we have, we share out. These are strengthening the network around us. So, if we can do that, I think it's not wrong for the Prime Minister to say in the keynote address, invest in Malaysia. I think 2 days ago, in Shangri-La, he said, we want to make Malaysia a roaring tiger once again. Right? It's visionary, but I think the enablers, the people that will facilitate this are you all guys, SME, and look at other countries, say in Eastern Europe. There are countries, developed economies, 90%, 95% are from SME. While you can rely on MNC, foreign investment, but they come and go. And they always look the strength of SME market here. Right? If our SME are solid, that will indirectly attract foreign investment. This is my take. I'm not sure whether you agree or not. I brought personally the single largest investment in Sabah last week. Okay? Not reported anywhere. 13 billion in Lahad Datu. Officiated by Shafi Abdal. I wasn't there, but I brought that project to Sabah. It's unprecedented because if you go through, you disrupt it. MNC will come. But that's not MNC. Those are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs of different countries, the French, the Italian, and the Swiss. Those are my contacts within the industry in petrochemical and oil and gas. I said, why don't you do it? They promoted it. They got sponsors. They got high net worth individuals come in, and we tell them we got this infrastructure that can help them, and we got good labor workforce, skilled workforce that is. We got people that are good in artificial intelligence, we got engineers that well, and people today talk about, hey, don't do national car project. They don't understand. PM and myself always say that we need to develop further the skill sets in this country. Human capital, that's the secret of any successful economy. When we talk about the national car project, for example, I hope later no more question from the press, is to develop our excellence. We have to exceed par excellence in engineering, for example. The mother of all engineering is all in cars. You talk about artificial intelligence, you talk about anything, dynamic, strain, stress, structural engineering, mechanical, E&E is all in the cars. Right? And we are moving ahead now. In our trust, in our NEF, we say priority is not only for halal, but aerospace rank number 1. We want to head toward this. By the way, if you guys go to Lima, we are showcasing 12 of SME companies in Lima. Yeah, one of them is the Strands that design private jets, a Malaysian company. We also bringing, of course, not under us, the big one, the tier 1, tier 2 suppliers, manufacturers in aerospace. So we have that talent. Yeah, and I mentioned again in regard to the guys that going or heading to New York Stock Exchange. Operating in 23 countries around the world. Yeah. Now, why I want to say that? Because they are not here, the regulations are not in place. The environment are not created for them. That's why we must be ready. I must be ready to create an environment for them to thrive. As the 23 countries has provided the environment for the Malaysian to thrive. Why they're not here? Because we don't give them incentive. The rules are not in place. So that's what we are doing, try to facilitate, as an example, to help entrepreneurs grow into a level that maybe sky is the limit. The small and the medium enterprises are an integral component of the Malaysian economy, contributing to 37%. That's past. I said 38% now, as we're heading towards the anniversary of the new government. However, whatever numbers that you see today, the reality is rather far from desired. Based on the Ministry of the Finance Economic Report 2018-19 titled Fiscal Outlook 2019, most of Malaysia's small and medium enterprises have yet to utilize the internet optimally to unlock the opportunities available due to the lack of digital skills, access to talents, and high costs. Despite that, I said we have that 1% increment. And you just imagine if we look at the report Fiscal Outlook 2019, the concern that we have is the readiness of the SME to use or to adopt new technologies as far as the internet ICT is concerned. It's very, very important that you guys look at it as we adopt IR 4.0. SMEs are only using the internet for basic requirement today. And the best you could look at is only e-commerce. Yeah. I'm encouraging my unit, for example, to adopt e-wallets so that I can manage the little money that we have better. Example, SME Bank. Why SME Bank today? Any of them? SME Bank SME Bank, I've asked them to look at using in a closed community. If they have 10 million, put that into digital wallet. Not that I'm IT savvy, but I can understand. So that you have a closed community where you can use that money for the purpose. If you are doing automation, we give you the money, then we know using the e-wallet or using the digital currency, you call it, to buy stuff, and we help you to manage the money that we give you. Not that we want to interfere or micromanage, but to facilitate. To facilitate so that you can get your automation, for example, up and running on time, and also allow the people that knows about it to help you, rather than today, if you go to a bank, more likely than not, this is my own internal criticism, when they look at something, they don't know about it, they put aside. So we always look for people, competent people to look at things, to facilitate. If you got someone that knows how to evaluate a proposal in terms of giving funds or loans, who is alien to the project or alien to the project, they might not look at it. So that will cost time. It delays the process. Therefore, when you delay the outcome. So we want to be more dynamic in the way we do things. We want to be more proactive, make sure things are so-called passed down to SMB as soon as we can in order to get the desired result. The same report in the financial outlook also asserted that the fact that Malaysia is basically underperforming in the business digital adoption index compared to the ASEAN neighbors. Yeah. Although we are ranked number 2 behind Singapore on the score SME, in terms of where we are ranking SME, but we are underperforming. Now, according to the Malaysia Productivity Corporation, ICT adoption by SME in Malaysia is mere 10%. 10%. This is in stark contrast to other developed countries like Germany and Japan, where the passage stands at 50%. Our German friends are here, and I'm sure he can attest to that. They are at the 50%. The changes, and hopefully they can help us. Well, they're our German friends just now. Is that German Korean, is it? Yeah, this year. You can probably, yeah. The changes arising for digital revolution in the production and value creation process are radical and pose a real challenge to SMEs in Malaysia. Among the biggest challenges faced by Malaysia SME embracing I 4.0 are human capital development, as I said, financing implication, and effective change in management, as well as infrastructural improvement or development. In terms of human capital, it is safe to say that workers still need to acquire differently or an all-new set of skill. And I think Malaysians can adapt and can adopt. Now, I think I always say this, we must be able to adapt to changing priorities. From what we have been in the past as a traditional way of doing things, we should be willing, able to adapt to changing. The priority now are 4.0. So we must be, and that is a successful formula. If you don't want to adapt, then you can't get to be successful community. To stay competitive, SME have no choice but to embrace creative production and include more industry forms or elements into their operation. SME players need to be talent champion, one who knows that skill sets and in their companies and willingness to pick up the tab in terms of training and development. Banyak sangat pasal training and development ni. Maybe you get bored, but I think I want to move this. You got to train people, nothing else. One of the central agency under me, MED, completed a digitalization survey of SME in 2018. 80% of respondents realized the importance of ICT production. This is something which is good. They are aware. They need it. We did a survey. Unfortunately, not many among the respondents are willing to leave their business operation. Yeah. My prediction, most of them are so worried about the cost implication of such an important move. And one thing, they also worried about security. Not many SMEs that I've spoken to informally, not a so-called verified statistic. Most of them, I said, they are worried, for example, is payment gateways. They're so worried to adopt. That's why the e-commerce seems to be quite slow in taking off. The second key challenge is about financial implication. Industry 4.0 requires existing installation to be adapted and in some cases, it may require an entirely new setup of an IT infrastructure. That include, today we discussed, just now we talked about blockchain. We need to use some of it that we have and use that in the blockchain technology that a lot of people have been talking about. Now, this course may present barriers for SMEs, especially micro and small firms, to embrace IR 4.0. However, this huge investment eventually yield big impacts, as in the long run, SME will experience cost efficiency when Industry 4.0 has been fully implemented. Another challenge, and perhaps the most important one, that manufacturing companies face in integrating digitalization in ensuring that their people are aligned with this vision. Again, we talk about the need for people to be educated. It is important for SME who are different in nature compared to large corporations to realize that their venture into Industry 4.0 adoption require leadership and change in management. You guys are leaders here, and you must take that leadership role to get people to subscribe to the I 4.0. We need more leaders of Malaysian SME to be disruptive drivers, in this current economic climate. Malaysian SMEs leaders who feel ready to lead in the Industry 4.0, you need to be disruptive. You need to institute changes, even in the organization that involve the cutting off the head, so to speak. Yeah. You have to, not to force, but to educate them to adopt. Leaders who are prepared to capitalize on the opportunities associated with IR 4.0, leaders who are willing to invest in talents and new skills, leaders who are eager to work closely with us, leaders who are willing to work with me, with the government and MED, please do come forward and put your views across to us, and the best we can based on the machinery that we have, and I think we can do it together. Finally, that's a problem, me being a politician. I was never a politician. Really. I was traveling around the world and tried to do many things. I must say, my showcase, if you want to know, I like to look at technologies. I brought a showcase in Malaysia, unprecedented, and unfortunately the industry may be slow in taking it up. If you look at oil production facility, just for information, it's normal to see the processes, say from concept, they call it concept, to first oil. Maybe 26 to 28 months, even to 36 months for the big one, right? But I did, and I showcased it in Malaysia, unprecedented, using technology, using disruption of processes, and I did concept to first oil in 12 months. 8,000 barrels of oil a day. To me, technology. So you just imagine you monetize the subsurface asset early to get the cash flow early. So there are things that you should look at, showcasing many technologies being used by other people and bring back here, whether in form of partnership or in terms of acquisition. We have this unit in the government called Technology Acquisition Fund, which can use. We have the depository, for example, where we can have an enrichment with the technology provider against the technology user, and we will facilitate that. And in fact, recently there was an application by a unit under Jabatan Perdana Menteri wanting me to adopt them under my ministry. I said, you got to ask the Prime Minister lah, not me to make the decision who should be under which ministry. Yeah, and let me end this. MED via our strategy agency will give our full commitment to facilitate the realization of Industry 4.0 among SMEs in Malaysia. I can give you the assurance we are primed and equipped, God willing, to help the government with one endeavour of budget 2019. Huge allocation last again has been earmarked for SME development in 2019 under the third focus to foster entrepreneurial economy. Among the key initiatives include financing, Industry 4.0 export, tourism, agriculture, entrepreneurship, human capital development, and incentive. This is something that people want to know, and Datuk Michael did, and I welcome you to interact further. I must say, during my discussion with the Prime Minister, he asked me to do a spreadsheet of incentive for different industry, and we will try to suit them, tailor-make them to specific industry, and not only that, to specific investment. But we need your feedback in order to tailor-make to your requirement. If MIDA say, I'll give you 10-year pioneer, right? I'll give you a capital allowance for so many years or so much. But we can tailor-make it to something else, unique to your investment. This is something that I've not done it because I'm still receiving feedback. There are people that want more so-called capital allowance, increasing it from 5 to 7 years. So we have to look at the merits of specific projects that give or that can stimulate the growth of the economy. Yeah, and you must remember, and I always be mindful of the fact that we need the private sectors to be accelerated. The more they make money, the more income to the government. The more economic activity, the more people will come in and put their money. So you can have the return, you can have the yield, and the country, inshallah, God willing, will prosper to a greater height. Now, true enough, lastly but not least, I can talk all day. As I said, I wasn't a politician. But when I get a mic, later when you get a mic, you're going to stop and speak. But today I don't know about politics so much. I understand politics, but I'm glad Tun sort of picked up in that. I don't want to go anywhere else, I said, entrepreneurship development. Industry 4.0 is not solely about interesting and catchphrases or buzzword. It is a confidence of trends and technology that will shape our future. As I say again, I repeat, please come forward and help us realize Malaysia as a truly entrepreneurial nation. Let us sustain our competitiveness using IR 4.0. As I said, there are many examples that I put forward to you, and hopefully I can assist more to be champions in various sectors of the industry by using IR 4.0. In particular, we must start looking at AI, artificial intelligence. With that note, I thank you for inviting me, and hope having a fruitful discussion remaining of the afternoon. And I hope to see you again. I'm prepared to engage by KSI one more time, probably third, fourth, or fifth time. And good afternoon to everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.